There are so many significant moments in comics that one can go back and look at. So today I wanted to check out one of those iconic issues, going back to the start of the death of Iris West, which is an odd way to phrase it, but it's because the death of Iris West Allen, the wife of the Flash, it starts off a kind of story arc and saga, but we're going to take a look at the issue where she's murdered. Also, she got better. So did Barry when he died. But for now, let's go back to the issue that started off a pretty significant moment in Flash history. And that's The Flash, issue 275. I'm Sash, this is Casually Comics, and it's classic comic time. It was a fun alliteration. As just stated, this death is one of those things that sets off a series of chain events. It's going to lead to the death of the Reverse Flash, the trial of Barry Allen, or rather, the trial of the Flash. It's going to lead to the Flash going off to the future. Some feel it's what led to the Flash comic being canceled, and not the impending doom of Crisis on Infinite Earths, because that's where the Flash is going to end up, and he's going to die there. But again, he'll get better. He stayed dead for a while though. But what about this issue with the death itself? How does it fare as an individual issue, as part of an arc? Just what details stand out or don't over time? The Flash number 275 was published in 1979, so it's firmly a Bronze Age story and years after the code has been revised, but it's still around. Most of the revisions have to do with the supernatural, but you are also going to see things get a bit more violent in some areas, and some topics are going to be discussed a bit more loosely. This story is fittingly titled The Last Dance, and it's written by Carrie Bates, with pencils by Alex Saviuk, inks Frank Chiaramonte, and colors by Gian D'Angelo. It has a cover that can look a bit baffling to some out of context, and that's because it's the Flash dancing with Iris, but she's dressed as Batgirl. So just at a passing glance, it looks like he's dancing with Barbara, but really what this is a masquerade ball, and those never go well in fiction. The cover itself also teases that there's going to be a death. Now the intro to this story, pre-doomed masquerade, is wrapping up something else, which was a story in which a teenage psychic named Melanie had taken an interest in the Flash and wanted to know who he was by any means necessary, and that included controlling his body. So at this point, she's controlling him to a motel room. Red alert, it gets awkward. They have panels later on, not in this issue, but when she appears later, they're all, I'm 16. Now, do you mind telling me what this is all about? Who are you? What is it you want from me? Patience, Flash. Last time, I didn't have a chance to really check you out. Very impressive. You sure have a body ideal for super speeding. Slim, but sinewy. Not grotesquely muscle-bound like some other superheroes. Just look at his thought balloon. He's like, what? This is not going where I thought it was gonna go. And now the answer to the ultimate question. The one I had to postpone when we were so rudely interrupted by the guard dogs at the Institute. What question is that? The one that's been haunting me since I first became interested in you. Now they dress this up, but this question is essentially, is he hot? You may have been able to guess that based on the description, the thirsty description of his body type. The face behind the mask. What sort of face does a man the caliber of the Flash possess? So, because she's controlling his body, she forces him to take his mask off, to unmask in front of her, and she promises she won't tell anybody. All of the dynamics here, everything happening. However, after violating the Flash's mind in a way, she's extremely disappointed, because by her standards, he's average. Well, nothing. No distinctive character traits, not even a mole, just a bunch of even features. That face could belong to anybody. I guess I don't know exactly what I was expecting, but whatever it was, you haven't got it. What a letdown. I spent many a sleepless night trying to figure out what you'd be like. I even toyed with the possibility of your being ugly. That's very fascinating. She would rather he'd been ugly than average. There's so much to unpack here. Every time I pin my hopes on somebody, they turn out to be ordinary one way or another. 6 months ago, it was John Travolta. Now you. I don't know what I did to deserve this. Huh? Barry is confused. Potentially as confused as a reader would be if they just stumbled into this issue, if this was the start of the comic reading experience. Now, this is not Melanie's last appearance. She does figure into this arc a little bit more later on, but she's gone for now. And in general, Melanie is not one of the overly remembered Flash characters. Now, Iris shows up because she had assumed that Barry was cheating because there'd been some odd behavior on his part in issues prior. So she tracks him to the motel where he's still inside, having a crisis, looking at his face, trying to discover whether it's ordinary or average or not. It's bothering him. The cutting barbs of teenage sass. However, the timing means that Iris saw a girl leave the hotel room, and so her first thought, he's cheating. She does not want him to explain. She's ready to divorce him. She nearly has a car crash on the way home. She's so upset and he has to save her with his super speed. At that point, once he's saved her, he's able to tell her what was going on and also get a much needed self-esteem boost. Is he ordinary? Oh, Barry, you are telling the truth. That hurt look on your face just has to be genuine. Don't worry about it, sweetheart. You'll always be extraordinary to me. I was so foolish to ever doubt you, Barry Allen. We now know Barry's weakness. People not thinking he's handsome. Someone needs to send this to the Reverse Flash. Foddered for decades. Now, despite the fact that she was ready to divorce him a few panels ago, they decide that, you know what? They actually want to have a baby. And with that, it's time to get ready for the masquerade. Now, they were supposed to go in couple costumes as Batman and Batgirl. However, the Batman costume was already rented, so all that came was the Batgirl. Iris is a Batman-Batgirl shipper confirmed, but Iris says that he can still go. He can just wear his own costume. How about what you're wearing? No one in a million years would actually suspect you're the real Flash, not someone as ordinary looking as you. Iris, too soon. My question is, what was Melanie's overall plan if she had found him ugly or hot? Especially given that she was controlling him with her ESP at the time. There are some disturbing avenues that could have gone down, but those are areas that the comic did not go to. We have different dangers. There's a hit out on Barry Allen at the masquerade, and also the villain Clive Yorkin was lurking outside his house, and so he saw him unmasked as the Flash. Clive Yorkin is insane because of his time in the penitentiary where they tried to Clockwork Orange him, but it didn't work. That's the Cliff Notes. However, he remembers Barry Allen being there, and so has this reaction to seeing his face. Wants to hurt him. Now we need more players to add to some of the confusion that's going to happen at the masquerade. Frank Curtis, Barry's friend from the police station and their ride, is also going to the masquerade as the Flash. Well, a girl couldn't feel much safer than this, being escorted by 2 Flashes and 2 policemen at the same time. It was at that moment that Barry should have just turned and gone home. Anytime anybody says a statement like that, I feel so safe. What could go wrong? Just go home and try again tomorrow. Whatever it is, it can wait. This party has a lot of people dressed up as heroes and villains. So if you just look at the crowd scenes, you get a fun who's who. You can see the Phantom in one corner. Now, people are really trying to get into character at this party, convention style. There are also just some moments that are a bit amusing. Like, it looks for a minute like Iris is flirting with / being flirted with by a guy in a Green Lantern costume, and then it turns out to just actually be Hal. It's this, that Green Lantern dancing with Iris is getting way out of line. Uh-oh. Here comes Barry, and he looks ticked off. Easy, pal. I'd hate to have to use my power ring in self-defense. Isn't the friend of the family allowed to kiss the missus? It depends how you're kissing her, Hal. It depends how. He was really giving her a congratulatory kiss because she was telling him about how they decide to have a baby. It's sweet. Hal and Barry are super close. They have a genuine friendship that doesn't involve Barry calling him a Nazi every 5 seconds. However, one must note that this story is very quick to have one or the other jump to assumptions of adultery or get possessive. I'm not sure if now it's quite the right time for a baby. The fact that the 2 were planning to become parents doesn't often get discussed or doesn't seem to when it comes to talking about her death, but it does add a whole other layer of things, not just in terms of sadness, but also in terms of the psychology of the Reverse Flash when it's fully revealed that he is the one who kills her, and the why of his reasoning, because at the time he's trying to spin a whole I was in love with her. That's why I had to vibrate my hand through her skull. Now, as for this issue, Hal just came to see what costumes they were wearing, and so once he sees that, he flies off. But he's also there actually to establish something else that will play into later issues. Barry has been given 2 punches, 2 celery punches, because there's not anything alcoholic at this party because the host is a health nut. And so the 2 get their celery punches and offer a toast to their future child. And Iris says that this is the happiest moment of her life. She signed her own death warrant. She might as well have vibrated her own hand through her skull. Now, after drinking this punch, Barry suddenly feels really, really sick. He's trying to figure out if somebody drugged the punch, but feels it can't be that because Iris had some and she's fine. Or she was fine, because he hears a bunch of sounds as he manages to stagger toward what's going on. He hears her screaming. He manages to open the door and she's just on the ground. Clive Yorkin standing over her. He had energy absorption powers. He leaps out the window and Barry's there trying to revive Iris before he just passes out. It's actually really intense. There's a Batman who's trying to attend to them, and all I could wonder was that the guy who rented the Batman costume Barry was supposed to get? Gotta get one of them to the hospital right away, but I'm afraid the other one is dead. Next issue, Freak Out. I think that was meant to be suspenseful. Which one of them died? But the comic's called The Flash. We know it's not Barry. Maybe people might have been expecting a fake out of neither of them were dead. That could have been it. And so that's the issue. Next issue, he really does freak out on drugs. In case we don't get a chance to get into all the details, the reason the Flash felt sick is because the Reverse Flash dosed him with angel dust. Now, as for this issue, it's very much constructed to be the beginning of an arc. It's ending off one, it's starting another. It's really the fallout and buildup that comes after this that gives this story a lot of its strength. And the context around it and what it means has shifted a decent amount over time. So reading it from a contemporary Iris and Barry got to be together, and there has been more than one universe reset, as well as just having a whole breadth of new Flash history to measure it against in terms of where it sits in terms of storylines, is a different experience than it must have been reading it as it came out, where it was likely much more shocking, especially because she stayed dead for years. Barry would even get a new love interest, Fiona Webb, who would become his fiance, who the Reverse Flash would also try to kill. This story, as it stands, hands is a fairly strong one. It does move at a breakneck pace, and if one just starts off with this, the instance at the beginning does feel a tad awkward. However, there is a lot of emotional drama, even if it does move a bit fast if one were just to be jumping into this. However, one does know about the history between Barry and Iris most likely, and so that is a significant moment in their relationship that they're deciding to have a child. There's also a lot of intrigue set up for the masquerade ball of all these different people who could be coming to hurt Barry or the Flash, or so it looks like, and then for it to be the misdirect, that's actually Iris who gets hurt. Also, the little seeds and building blocks that are there for the reveal that it was Professor Zoom are nicely implemented. Or there are at least things you could call back to and claim that that's what they were there for. For instance, you do see the Reverse Flash in the crowd of characters, both on the cover and inside the comic. And because this issue took time out to establish not only was Barry there in costume, but also Hal, it sows the seed that there could have been other people there too. I was about to say as well and then didn't. I don't know, I pivoted. They really do lean into how devastating this was for Barry. However, this issue itself doesn't have as much time to get into what a big deal this is, but the other issues will. They don't treat this lightly. This is definitely up there with dark Reverse Flash moments. It's almost as far as Zoom Hunter Zolomon will go later when he causes Linda Park to miscarry her and Wally's children. It almost feels in some ways that plot's a redux of this one, referencing it in a way because this story is almost doing that. I imagine that her actually being pregnant would have been a step too far for the code at the time. This story is an important one for the Flash and one that stands out. It's a decent issue, though it does work better as part of the arc that it sets off, rather than pulled out and separated. And it was constructed to work in such a way so that makes sense. However, there are some issues that even if they can just be read completely standalone. In terms of historic issues that people will often recommend, this one is worth going back and reading. Although, of course, it will not be for everyone. Some don't enjoy this era of the Flash. Some feel that's the moment where the Flash really went off the rails. Some really don't enjoy the way that Iris is treated in this arc. Although, as mentioned, she does end up coming back even before Crisis. But just some of the ways that the narrative treats her, some feel that reduces her down to a bit of a prop. Also, some just feel that this story or the melodrama is a bit extra. So as always, different strokes for different folks. Now, when one comes to a story is always an important factor, but in a story like this, it takes on an added level of significance, which is my word of the video apparently, because there are just so many different vectors at this point. There are also going to be some who are going to have encountered this plot line from the Flash CW series. So I really love to hear your thoughts on this first issue of the first appearance of the death of Iris West. Does it stand out to you? Do you feel it only works once everything is revealed? Is it the fact that it's the Reverse Flash who killed her that gives it the weight? I'm very interested to hear your perspective on this one. Your thoughts, as ever, I want to hear them. Please leave them down below. And while you're down there, please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time to spend discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.